Let's all just take a deep cleansing breath together, okay? Oh, okay. For those of you who might be here for the first time, or maybe you're new to our community, we are experiencing some changes. Our beloved minister, Reverend Josh, has gone on to a new adventure in Colorado to expand his horizon and take on more of the world. And so we could not be more proud of him. And yet for us, it's sad, and we grieve, and we miss him, and we love him. And so just know that we're normally a very perky bunch, but today's a different kind of day. I had this interesting meditation this week that I wanted to share with you guys because I felt like maybe you could relate to it. It's kind of bizarre, but kind of very profound for me, actually. So I was going in and contemplating our theme for this year, which is creating sanctuary. And you know, a theme is really an intention that you want to see kind of unfold and played out. And so all of a sudden, I saw Reverend Josh as Moses. Now, don't tell him, I might give him a big head. Well, he deserves a big head, so. Okay, so I saw him as Moses, and I saw us as like the Jews that he was leading to the promised land. And all of this was going on internally, and it occurred to me that what he has been doing all year, or the whole time he's been here, is leading us all to that promised land within us, to that inner sanctuary that knows its worth, that knows how good it is. And for that, I just opened my eyes and started crying tears of gratitude and love for all that he has given me. And I'm sure many of you feel the same way. But now his good is calling him on. It's calling him to pushing him forward. And you know, good is like that. It pushes us on. Good, let me just say, does not always feel good, okay? And it certainly doesn't always look good. And so it occurred to me that a lot of times, I mean, we talk about good in this center, in this philosophy a lot, because we believe that it's this principle, foundational experience of God transferring in life and always pushing us forward to experience a greater amount of good, a greater amount of life, a greater amount of God. And yet, when things happen that are for our greatest good, it just doesn't always feel like it. And so sometimes it takes time and space and perspective to be able to see that big picture, to be able to see, oh, I get it. I couldn't see it because I was right there, but now I get it. Have you ever had that experience in your life where you knew that good was going to be coming out of this, but you just could not figure out for the life of you how? Yeah. And so Josh is taking his big leap. And that means that we are taking a big leap. And right now, we're kind of mid-air, you know? And I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who does this, but I find myself just worrying and wondering, and what's going to happen? What's going to happen when we land from this leap? What's it going to look like? What's it going to feel like? And so my inner voice, when it's being loving and kind, says, whoa, whoa, whoa. Take a deep breath and remember that when you're in the future or when you're in the past, not just about this situation, about any situation in my life or maybe your life, that I have to remember that I'm simultaneously taking myself out of the only place where I can do any work, which is the present moment. In this present moment, it is the only area, the only time and space where we can do the work that will ensure the success of our future. Right here and right now, this is where the work goes in to ensure that that landing is amazing. And so I have to remind myself these questions, and maybe I invite you to remind yourself these questions, because they work for me. And I have to say, Nicole, are you creating a space within yourself to allow in something new, something good? Are you taking moments to silently hold the high watch? Are we remembering that source or God or the beloved or whatever you call that power greater than we are, that power for good? Are we remembering that that is the first cause of all life and all things? And by first cause, I mean that singular action that pushes and thrusts us forward. Are we remembering to create an environment within ourselves that can reflect all the good that we desire to experience? These are the kinds of questions I ask myself, and I invite you to take this in as your own. Our talk for this morning is called The Big Leap, and it comes from a book that has the same title. And this book could not have fallen into my life at a better time. This book talks about what happens when we reach our limit for our good. We all have kind of this container for good, and what to do when that container's been filled and we hit our upper limits, how to transcend that. And so hitting our upper limits can look like this. It could look like we're in this really great relationship with someone, and then we pick a fight with them for no reason. Or we're doing really good on a diet, and then 4 days into it, we binge eat 5 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and blow it. That would be me. Or everything is just going really, really well in our lives, and we just find ourselves waiting for that other shoe to drop. This is hitting our upper limits. And there's this really great example that I found in the book about this married couple who literally were on the brink of divorce over toilet paper. Okay, the wife wanted 2-ply. It was soft on her bum and they could afford it. The husband wanted 1-ply because it was cheap and it did the job. But these two individuals were multimillionaires. They were healthy and wealthy and they had a great life. And they were on the brink of divorce over toilet paper. This is what it's like when we hit that cap out on our good. And I had my own very real, very personal experience of hitting my upper limits. And it happened when Reverend Josh told me that he was leaving. And he asked me, would you please step up? Would you please support this community? And of course, my first instinct, my first word was yes, this is my family. I don't have a lot of blood family, but chosen family, that is something very special, and you are my chosen family. And so of course, I am eager and happy to do whatever I can. And not only that, but I've been single-mindedly focused on becoming a minister for a lot of years now. And so it was a no-brainer. But what I didn't expect to happen was this extraordinary, breathtaking anxiety and fear. I mean, it was almost debilitating. And I thought, oh, good dear Lord, what is going on? Am I going crazy? It just was uncalled for. And I know that Reverend Josh has kind of been like my little security blanket, and he's always there to help me out. And I know that April has been like my spiritual sister, and I love them so much that, yeah, I'm gonna grieve, and I'm gonna feel sad, and I'm gonna miss them. But this kind of fear and anxiety was uncalled for because he has mentored me well. And so it really helped to learn from this book that that's normal. People hit a limit because for millennia, we as humans have been being chased by big not dinosaurs, but big animals, and we've been trying to survive an ice age, and we've been trying to, go up on the ladder of the totem pole of, species to not die. So it is a first instinct to be fearful and to be anxious, especially when everything is good and only getting better. But what I also know is that we live in a world that's safe now. We don't have to be afraid of everything. We don't have to have anxiety. Maybe it can be our first instinct, but it doesn't have to be what we move into. Rick Brown, one of my dear friends, he has this saying, I'm sure you've heard it a million times, happiness is a choice. I choose happy. And that's exactly what we get to do. We get to make a choice to be a different way, to move past that fear. And so hitting our upper limits, it can actually be a really great thing for us because it shows us where our cap out is on our good, and then, okay, I can do the work to transcend that, to overcome that, to open up to more. And so, let's see where we are. And so there's these two zones that they talk about. There's a zone of excellence and a zone of genius. And so when we're in our zone of excellence, everything is comfortable. We're safe, we're really good at our job, we're really good at being a parent or a partner and all that, and everything's going well. And then there's this zone of genius, which is what I think Reverend Josh dove into. That's who he is and why his good is just thrusting him forward. And our zone of genius is that area where we could be up all night long doing whatever it is that we're doing because it's our passion. We're on fire about it. It lights us up. And that is when we've transcended that limit for our good. And so there's nothing wrong with living in a comfort zone and living a peaceful, easy life. But there is something so life-affirming, so profound in stepping outside of that comfort zone and moving into that fired passion, in opening up to a greater good. And each and every one of us deserves this. The only thing that gets in our way is this sometimes unconscious idea that I can only experience this much good because that much good would entail me to get really uncomfortable and maybe open myself up for some ridicule or judgment, and I don't want to do that, right? Can any of you relate to any of this? Yeah? Oh. So in order to transcend my upper limits, in order to be able to be here with you all and feel safe and good about it, I went backwards. I went to a good, solid spiritual practice that has gotten me through everything, and I want to share it with you all. It comes from Emma Curtis Hopkins, whose philosophy on the good is just profound and transformational. And so the spiritual practice is really stating your spiritual authority, statements of truth. And so a statement of truth could be like this. This is the one that I use almost as a mantra. I am seeking my good, and my good is my God, because it draws and pushes and moves me on. Do you want to say that with me? I am seeking my good, and my good is my God, because it draws and pushes and moves me on. That just feels so good to remember that. And Emma also talks about that the good that you and I desire, it actually governs everything that we do. It governs our entire life. And so when we make space to open up to good, and we can imagine the love and the joy and the abundance and whatever it is that is ours to desire, to experience, when we make space for that, the universe fills that void quickly. But it's up to us to do that work right here and now, to create that space and hold the high watch for ourselves. And so what I want to invite us to do is when we find ourselves hitting our upper limits, maybe in this community, maybe at home, maybe we realize that we're acting in ways that are not exactly representative of who we think we are, who we're trying to become. Maybe we're judging or criticizing or condemning or worrying or depressed or anxious or fearful. What I want to invite us to do is to remember that each and every one of us has a spiritual authority to claim, name, state, and with conviction affirm your good. Every one of us has the authority to do that. And when we do that, that is the process of making space. That is the process of saying, okay, come on, I'm here. Because our good is drawn to us when we are drawn to it. And I want to just acknowledge the upper limits that we might all be hitting here together as a community. Many of us are grieving. Many of us are sad. Many of us feel lost or lonely or. And that's okay. We're allowed to feel that way because we have been loved for a long time, and we have loved. And change is hard. But I also want us to make some space. Even with all of our emotions, even with all that we're going through, I really want us to make some space for expectancy in our hearts and in our minds, and expectancy for the good that's coming, for the good that's already here. Look around. The greatness of God is before me. It's in these seats. The divine is right here. It's expressing here as us. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that beautiful? We've got this. And so I want to just invite now any ministers in the room to join me in rising in expectancy for the good of this community. And I want to invite any practitioners in this room to please join me in rising in consciousness to an expectancy of good. And I want to invite anyone on the leadership council to please rise and join me in an expectancy of good. And I want to invite any member of this community, any visitor, anyone in this room who has made space for an expectancy of good to please rise. Rise and join me. Look around, ladies and gentlemen. Look around. Each and every person here is holding the consciousness, is holding the high watch for you. We are in this together. We love each other. We are a family. And it's only going to get better from here. I want to just move into prayer. You can close your eyes if you'd like. Oh, what I know, what I recognize right here in this room is the greatness of God. There is a power and a presence and an intelligence which has created the cosmos. It thought forth our planet to bring life in this form. With each cell and each atom coming together, we are absolute miracles of life. We are held together by an intention for good, an intention for love, an intention for peace, and for harmony, and for community. And I speak my word of spiritual conviction, knowing that this is holy ground, the ground that each and every being here stands on and walks on and moves on is holy ground. We are here by divine appointment. We are lifting and rising in consciousness together. This is the day. Now is the time. We are the ones to ensure the success of our lives and our future. And so it is. So it is.